Even in this era where Hollywood is nearly bankrupt creatively and the majority of major movie releases are sequels, series, spin-offs, and reboots, Naked Gun was still one of the last comedies I expected them to try and revive. Not only is the style of comedy not quite what's in vogue right now, but Leslie Nielsen is about as irreplaceable as it gets for comedic actors. Just last week, we talked about the difficulties in following up a classic comedy with Happy Gilmore 2. Where you have to balance capturing the tone and comedic tenor of the original without simply rehashing all the same old jokes. It's a tricky, high-wire balancing act that ends up with more attempts plummeting to the pavement than pulling it off. And while Happy Gilmore 2 tried to walk that high wire 29 years after the original, The Naked Gun was attempting that feat 37 years after the first film. I mean, you have to wonder how many people on the younger side were even aware that Naked Gun was a thing before this movie was announced. After all, even though it's an absolute classic of a series, it's a franchise that's been dormant for more than 30 years. But after seeing the new Naked Gun, while the movie might have had some minor slips and spills along the way, it definitely didn't fall off that high wire and splatter on the street below. No, I'd describe the Naked Gun as decent. With or without this channel, I was always going to watch the new Naked Gun, in part for the simple fact that I thought it was hilarious that they cast Liam Neeson in Leslie Nielsen's role, just because their names are similar. I can just see the creators giggling to themselves in the writer's room when they came up with that one. But I stand by my earlier assertion that Leslie Nielsen is irreplaceable in the role of Frank Drebin. Liam Neeson didn't butcher the role by any means, don't get me wrong, but he'll always be the Frank Drebin Jr. to Nielsen Sr. And we'll talk about all that and more after we get in a quick recap of the film. So freeze. Spoiler Squad is here. We begin with a bank robbery in progress where the thieves are looking for a MacGuffin with PLOT device written on its face. They get interrupted when a little girl walks into the front door, but that little girl is actually Frank Drebin Jr., Police Squad, the son of the all-time bad guy catcher himself. He kicks bubblegum and chews ass, but the main thief still makes off with the MacGuffin. Back at HQ, the chief, upset by Drebin's recent streak of rash action, takes him off the case and puts him on traffic duty. Here though, when investigating a suspicious car crash, Drebin stumbles onto a heinous plot that's afoot. Well, it's more than just afoot. It's a whole body of evil schemes by the name of Project Inferno. The owner of an electric car company plans to use the PLOT device to brainwash humanity into reverting back to their primordial state, causing violent chaos that would see the pseudo-Neanderthals among us wiped out. And the survivors, having separated themselves from the chaff, would be accepted into the little club of elites perpetrating this mayhem and used to repopulate the world. During his investigation, Frank meets the alluring Beth Davenport, who he describes as, quote, having a bottom that would make a toilet beg for the brown. It's a tale as old as time. Cop meets girl, cop falls for girl, girl helps cop back to his feet. Cop and girl retreat to a cabin in the mountains where they use dark magic to animate a snowman. Girl and cop make love to snowman. Snowman gets jealous. Snowman tries to kill cop and girl. Sometime later, Frank gets framed for the murder of a witness and turns fugitive. But even on the run, there's no bad guy catcher finer than Frank Drebin, and he follows the evidence to a UFC fight where the villain is going to unleash his PLOT device. Drebin punches his way through henchmen, UFC fighters, and Bruce Buffer alike before finally facing off with main villain number 1. With a helping wing from his dad himself, in the form of an owl, Drebin kicks some serious bubblegum and saves the planet. All in a day's work for Frank Drebin Jr., Police Squad. So as I said before, I thought this reboot of The Naked Gun was decent. It definitely tried to follow in its predecessor's footsteps while trying to differentiate itself as well, something the movie breaks the fourth wall to tell us directly early on, in true Naked Gun fashion. Think of it as having the same style, but with different jokes. Mostly different jokes. This one definitely made sure to show that Frank Drebin's poor driving skills were passed down to his son. The reboot certainly put the slap in slapstick as you'd expect, and it was filled with all the same stupid, punny humor, fourth wall breaks, and even the same detective noir style inner monologues. It was silly from the get-go, and just like Frank Drebin behind the wheel, it never pumped the brakes. And that's a good thing. Even Weird Al makes an appearance, his fourth in as many Naked Gun movies. Not every joke is made equal though, as we get some comedic peaks and some comedic valleys. But overall, the humor was decent and there are more peaks than valleys. And there are a few real laugh-out-loud moments. As a side note, something that really gives the originals a certain level of charm are the practical effects they were working with. The somewhat hokey, cartoonish effects that they were employing in the late 80s and 90s were a conscious choice, and they only amplified the humor. And in updating those effects for the modern era of movie making, you lose a little something. But in scenes in the new Naked Gun, like this one, where they use those obvious, ridiculous practical effects, the movie comes real close to living up to the name. As for Liam Neeson stepping into the infamous clown shoes of Frank Drebin, I didn't hate anything he did. Like everything else, I thought he was decent in the role, and he brings a bit more of an edge to it, as you might expect. But there's an infinitesimally small list of actors that could come close to living up to Leslie Nielsen in this role and wielding this kind of humor. He was truly one of a kind. So while Liam Neeson wasn't bad in this reboot, he was never going to be on the same level as the original. And I think that statement holds true for this movie as a whole. It was a decent, solid attempt at filling those size 14 clown shoes, but it'll always be in the shadow of the original. Reception to The Naked Gun looks to be mostly positive, with it nabbing a 76% from viewers on Rotten Tomatoes as of this writing, and a 7.1 on Metacritic. And I'd give The Naked Gun a great watch label, because my archaic but catchy rating system only has 3 labels in the clip. It's really more of a good watch. So I'd say if you're a fan of the slapstick knee slappers that the original delivered, this reboot is probably worth your time. Especially because it's a quick one, weighing in at under 90 minutes including credits. But maybe not worth your money. Like Frank Drebin going after a bad guy, my advice would be to just catch it when you get around to it. In this summer of mediocrity, the era of okay, a decent movie like this is actually one of the better ones we've gotten. So while it probably won't knock your socks off, it's a decent little comedy, and there's not much better out there right now. Were you interested in checking out this Naked Gun reboot? Are you a fan of the originals? Let me know down in the comments below. And remember to like the video if you liked it, and subscribe to HateWatchers for reviews of other current shows and movies. Thank you for slapping some knees with me today, and I'll catch you on the next one.